In the previous videos, we already learned about the selection flow of control, where we selected or not selected one or more statements for the execution. This is the time to repeat the execution of one or more statements in the code. This is the time for iteration. Namaste everyone, I am Gyan and you are watching the third session of Java and Web, Flow of Control. In this video, we will learn about the while loop, which is one of the way to implement the iteration in Java. Now question is, what is iteration? Sometimes we want to execute a portion of code more than one number of times. For that, we need suitable looping statements, which execute a set of statements again and again in a loop. Execution of the looping statements is called the iteration. This is the format of while loop shown here. The boolean in the while parenthesis, this one, can be a boolean variable, a boolean literal that is true or false, or any other valid Java statement which results in the boolean. And here statements before and after the while will be executed in the sequential order. The area under these two curly brackets are called the while body. So the statements inside the while body will be repeated again and again based on the boolean condition. If this boolean variable, boolean literal, or an expression which results in the boolean returns true, then execute the while body. The area between opening and closing curly brackets after the while is called the while body. And after the execution of the while body, check the boolean value again. It's again true or not. If after the execution of while body, boolean value is still true, then execute the while body again and check the boolean condition again. So repeat the while body until the boolean condition is true. But if the same boolean variable is false, then the while body will not execute and finish the loop. The control will come after the closing bracket of the while body and the while loop will end here. So this is the formal look on the while loop. The code present before the while loop is the program body before while. The code present after the while loop is the program body after while. And the area between the opening and closing brackets just after the while is called the while body. We can apply boolean variable, boolean literal, or any expression which results in boolean in the parenthesis of the while loop, called boolean condition. The parenthesis of the while loop follow the same rule as if parenthesis. That means only boolean variable, boolean literal, or any expression which results in the boolean is allowed in the while parenthesis. We cannot apply any other data type in the while parenthesis. Let's see the execution of the program here. We have integer variable I is equal to 0 and sum is equal to 0. In this program, we are trying to calculate the summation of 0, 1 and 2. That means 0 plus 1 plus 2. So the while loop starts execution. When the while loop starts, we have I is equal to 0 and sum is equal to 0. In the parenthesis of the while loop, we are checking if I is less than equal to 2 or not. In this case, I is equal to 0. So 0 is less than equal to 2. That's how the boolean condition in the parenthesis of the while loop is true and we have to execute the while body. So the while body starts execution. We are doing sum is equal to sum plus I. In this case, we have sum is equal to 0. That's how we are adding sum whose value is 0 to the I whose value is again 0. Result of 0 plus 0 is 0 and the 0 is stored as the new value of the sum. Again we have to do I is equal to I plus 1. The initial value of I is 0. That has been added to 1, which results in 1. The 1 is stored in the I as the new value. When the last time we checked the while condition, it was true. So we need to check it again. Again check if I is less than equal to 2. Now new value of I is 1 and sum is still 0. The new value of sum is still 0. We need to check I is less than equal to 2 or not. Here 1 is less than equal to 2. That's how the while body will get executed. The while body starts execution. And we have to do sum is equal to sum plus I. The current value of sum is 0 and the current value of I is 1. 0 plus 1 is equal to 1. The 1 gets stored in the sum as a new value. And then we have to do I is equal to I plus 1. The current value of I is 1 and 1 is getting added to it. The result is 2. The 2 gets stored in the variable I as a new value. So new value of I is 2 now. Since at the last time when we checked the condition in the while loop, it was true. So we need to check it again. The current value of I is 2. So we are checking if 2 is less than equal to 2 or not. It results true since 2 is equal to 2. That's how the while body gets executed. And we have to execute sum is equal to sum plus I. The current value of sum is 1 and the current value of I is 2. That's how we need to add 1 plus 2. The result of 1 plus 2 is 3 and the 3 gets stored in the variable sum as the new value. After that, we have to check I is equal to I plus 1. The current value of I is 2. The 2 is getting added with 1, which results in 3. The 3 gets stored in the variable I as the new value of I. So new value of I is 3. Since at the last time when we checked the condition of the while loop, it was true. So we need to check it again. Check the condition again. The current value of I is 3 now and the current value of sum is 3 now. We have to check it if I is less than equal to 2 or not. If 3 is less than equal to 2 or not, the condition returns false. That's how the control comes out of the while body, and we have to print the sum variable which outputs 3. The final value of the sum is 3. Let me execute this code in a Java program. Open iteration.java, and this is the same program. We have integer variable I and sum. We have the while loop I is less than equal to 2 and we are printing the sum. So actually we are printing the 0 plus 1 plus 2. Since I starts from 0 and goes up to 2. And all those values of I getting added to the sum which was initially 0. Let me save and compile it. Java C iteration.java. Compiles fine and then run it. Java iteration. It runs fine and printing 3. If I say you to calculate the summation from 0 to 10, then just write here I is less than equal to 10. Now I will be go from 0 to 10 and everything will be get added to the variable sum. Save and compile it. Java C iteration.java. Compiles fine, then run it. It runs fine and printing 55. The result of the summation of 0 to 10 is 55. This is a task for you to write a program to multiply all the numbers from 1 to 20. Here every cycle of the while loop, that is when I is equal to 0, when I is equal to 1, when I is equal to 2 is called one iteration of the while loop. Only the boolean data types, that means boolean variables, boolean constants or expressions which result in a boolean are allowed in the while parenthesis. Here we are using the boolean variable b which is true, so it's allowed in the while parenthesis. Here we are using the boolean variable b which is false, so it's allowed in the while parenthesis. But we cannot use other data type in the while parenthesis. Let me try other data type in the while parenthesis. Open iteration.java and write here 20 only instead of I less than equal to 20. Save and compile it. Java C iteration.java. Compiler throws an error. Incompatible types. Integer cannot be converted to boolean. Only boolean is allowed here. We cannot pass any other data type. Curly brackets means braces are optional, and without braces we can have only one statement which should not be declarative statement. This rule is similar to the if statement. Here we have boolean variable b is equal to true and we have only one statement in the while body. So curly bracket is optional here. But this statement is not the declarative statement. Here we are not defining a new variable. So this is correct. Here we have only one statement in the while body and this statement is also declarative. But since we have applied the curly brackets, so this is correct. We can declare a new variable in the while body if it has opening and closing curly brackets. Here again we have only one statement in the while body which is declarative. We are defining a new variable in the while body. But since we are not using any curly bracket in the while body, this statement returns an error. Because if you are not using the curly bracket in the while body, then only one statement is allowed and that statement should not be declarative. The logic behind here is similar to the if statement. Here we are defining the new variable whose scope is only while body. And after declaring the new variable, we are not using in the while body because while body cannot have more than one statement since we are not using the curly bracket. And since the scope of this variable I is only while body, we cannot use it after the while body. So why you want to declare a variable which you can never use in the program? That's how the compiler throws an error for such a condition. There may be a chance that a loop does not come to an end. Here we have the boolean variable b is equal to true and we are passing the variable b in the while loop. And inside the while body we are printing the string in, and after we finish the while body we are printing the string out. But since the variable b is true and will be always true because we are not changing the value of the variable b, so the variable b will be always true. That's how this loop will never come to an end. Let me apply this code in a Java program. Open iteration.java and this is the code. We have the boolean variable b contains the value true and we are passing the boolean variable b in the parenthesis of the while loop. Since the boolean variable b never changes in the while loop, it will never become false and the loop will never come to an end. Let's execute this code and see the output. Java C iteration.java. Compiles fine and then run it. Java iteration. It starts executing and keeps on printing in. If you want to stop a program which has been hanged in the while loop, then press Ctrl C, Ctrl plus C, and it will stop your program which was hanged in a loop. Since here we are using the boolean variable, so the value of the variable is not known to the compiler at the compile time. That's how the compiler happily compiled it and our program hanged into the while loop. Actually, the compiler at the compile time checks if all the statements in the program can be executed or not. Here we are using the boolean variable. Since the value of the variable is not known to the compiler at the compile time, so at the compile time the compiler cannot detect the string out is never going to be printed. The statement after the while loop is never going to be executed. In the case of loop, it is compiler's job to detect such unreachable statements. But since we are using the boolean variable, the value of the variable is not known at the compile time, compiler failed to detect such unreachable statement here. So if you use a boolean variable which stores the value true in the parenthesis and there is a statement just after the while body, the compiler cannot detect the value of the variable at the compile time and cannot detect the unreachable statement here. But same is not true if you are using the boolean literal instead of the boolean variable. If instead of using the boolean variable, here we are using the boolean literal, and the boolean literal is known to the compiler at the compile time. So the compiler at the compile time itself detects if some statement is not reachable in the program. Let me try this code in a Java program. Open iteration.java and write here true instead of B. Write here true. Compile and execute this code. Java C, iteration.java. Compiler throws an error, unreachable statement, this statement. So compiler detected that this statement which is printing out is unreachable. If we remove the unreachable code in the program, let me remove the unreachable code in the program. Let me comment out it. Now there is no unreachable code in the program. So even if we are using the boolean literal true, we are not using the boolean variable, we are using the boolean literal, but the compiler will not throw any error. Compiler knows that this while loop is going to execute for infinite. But the compiler will not throw an error at the compile time because there is no any unreachable statement in the code. Let me save and compile it. Java C, iteration.java. Compiles fine, then run it. It will keep on printing in. Stop the program by pressing Ctrl C. A loop which never comes to an end is called the infinite loop because the loop is going to execute for the infinite time. So if we use the boolean literal true in the while parenthesis and there is a statement just after the while body, the compiler is smart enough to detect the unreachable statement at the compile time. The compiler is smart enough to detect the unreachable statement at the compile time if we are using the constants or literals. Here we are using an expression which always results in true. The literal 2 is always less than literal 3. Since the expression in the while parenthesis contains only literals, so at the compile time the compiler detects the output. Compiler detects at the compile time that the while parenthesis always results in true. And we have a statement after the while body. So at the compile time compiler detects that some code is unreachable in the program. Let me try this code in a Java program. Open iteration.java. Instead of writing here true, write here 2 is less than 3. This always results true. And remove the comment from the statement after the while loop. Remove the comment from here. Now save and compile it. Java C, iteration.java. Compiler throws an error, unreachable statement. The statement after the while body is the unreachable statement. Since we were using only the constants in the expression, so the compiler detects the output and results in error at the compile time. Let me comment out this code. Now this program does not have any statement which is unreachable. All the statements in the program is reachable. Save and compile it. Java C, iteration.java. Now compiles fine and then run it. Java iteration. It runs fine and hanged in the infinite loop. Let's stop the program, press Ctrl C. If we use the constant expression which results in true in the while parenthesis and there is a statement just after the while body, the compiler is smart enough to detect the unreachable statement at the compile time. But in this case we are using the integer variable. We are not using the integer constant. Since the value of the variable in the expression is not known to the compiler at the compile time, so the compiler cannot detect the output of this relation operator at the compile time. And that's how the compiler cannot detect any unreachable code in the program. In this case, the program falls into the infinite loop. There is no compiler error. Let me execute this code in a Java program. Open iteration.java, and instead of writing here 2 is less than 3, write here I is equal to 2 and sum is equal to 3. Write here I is less than sum. Since we are using variable now, so compiler cannot detect any unreachable code. Comment out this statement. Compiler will not throw any error. Save and compile it. Java C iteration.java, compiles fine, then run it. Java iteration, it runs fine and hanged into the infinite loop. Compiler did not detect any unreachable code here. Stop the program by pressing the Ctrl C. So if you use the expression with variables which result in true in the while parenthesis and there is a statement just after the while body, the compiler cannot detect the value of the variable at the compile time. If we are using the final variable in the while parenthesis which results in true, then we know that the final variable is known to the compiler at the compile time. That's how the compiler can detect the result of this expression at the compile time only. And hence the compiler can detect if any unreachable code in the program. Let me try this code in a Java program. Open iteration.java. Make these two variables I and sum final. Now the compiler can detect at the compile time that this line of code which is printing out is not reachable in this program. Save and execute this code. Java C iteration.java. Compiler throws an error unreachable statement. This line of code is unreachable. If we pass the boolean literal false in the while parenthesis, then the while body itself will never be executed. And since we are passing the false literal, that's how the compiler at the compile time can detect the while body will never be executed. And it will throw an error unreachable code at the opening brace of the while body. Let me try this code in a Java program. Open iteration.java and write here false. Save and compile it. Java C iteration.java. Compiler throws an error that unreachable statement at the opening brace of the while body. Let me update this code again and write here boolean b is equal to false. And then write here b. Since we are using the boolean variable b which contains false, that's how at the compile time the compiler cannot detect the while body is not going to be executed, because the value of the variable is not known to the compiler at the compile time. Let me save and compile this code. Java C iteration.java, compiles fine, then run it. Java iteration, it runs fine and printing out the body of the loop was not executed. It's just printing the statement after the body of the while. One more thing I want to discuss, that a while can have an empty body. Comment out everything in the while body. Comment out it. So everything in the while body has been commented out. Make the value of the boolean variable as true. Write here true. Now save and compile it. Java C iteration.java, compiles fine, then run it. Java iteration, it's running fine but printing nothing, because in the while loop there is nothing to print and we are hanged in the while loop. Stop the program by pressing Ctrl C. You can write a while statement in just one line. Let's comment out all the while body. Comment out here also and give a semicolon here. This is the perfectly valid while loop. It will hang the program in the infinite loop. Let me save and compile it. Java C iteration.java, compiles fine and then run it. It's running fine and hanged in the infinite loop. Stop the program by pressing Ctrl C. So this is the while loop with no body. The new concept we are going to use in the while loop is the break statement. If you already remember from the switch case that when the Java encounters a break statement in the switch body, it comes out of the switch body. Same is the case with the while body. When the Java encounters a break in the while body, it comes out of the while body. Here the execution starts. Here we have the boolean variable b which contains true. We are passing the boolean variable b in the parenthesis of the while loop. Since we are passing the variable in the parenthesis of the while loop, so the compiler at the compile time cannot detect the value of the variable. Since the value of the b is true, so this loop is the infinite loop. Here we are checking if I is greater than 2 or not. If the I is greater than 2, then the break statement will get executed and the loop will be break. The control will come out of the while body. So that's how this loop executes until I is less than equal to 2 and results the value of 0 plus 1 plus 2. Finally, we are printing the value of I and value of sum. Writing here I is equal to 2 is wrong. The output is I is equal to 3 and sum is equal to 3. In this case, we are not changing the value of I. So the value of I will never be greater than 2. And that's how the break statement is not going to be executed. So this loop is ultimately an infinite loop because break will never be executed. So this loop will never come to an end. And the loop will fall into the infinite loop. Let me execute this code in a Java program. Open iteration.java and comment out the statement I is equal to I plus 1. Comment out it. Now I is not going to change. So I will never be more than 2 and that's how this break statement will never be executed. So finally this program is going to be hanged in the infinite loop. Save and compile it. Java C iteration.java compiles fine and then run it. It runs fine and printing nothing. The program has been hanged into the infinite loop. So press Ctrl C to stop the program. Now there is a trick here. Even if we write here while literal true, but since we are using the break statement in the while body, although the break statement will never be executed because I is not going to be changed, the compiler will never throw the unreachable code error. If you are using the break statement in the while body, although the break statement itself is unreachable, the compiler will not throw the code unreachable error for the statements after the while loop. Let me save and compile it. Java C iteration.java compiles fine, compiler did not throw any error. Run it. Program hanged into the while loop. So press Ctrl C to stop the program. If the word break is used inside the loop body, the compiler does not throw any error. Even if the constant true is used in the while parenthesis, does not matter the break statement will execute or not. If you say it for if else, then the compiler never check the code unreachable condition for the if else statement. If I write here 1 is greater than 2, then here we are using the literals and code inside the if body is unreachable, but compiler will not throw any error. So in the case of loops only, the compiler checks for code unreachability. If I write here 3 greater than 2, then also compiler does not check for code unreachable error. Save and compile it. Java C iteration.java compiles fine. This time the program runs because 3 is always greater than 2 and break has been executed in the first iteration. That's all for this video guys. Don't forget to like and share this video, subscribe this channel if you are new and leave your valuable comments in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.